Hey guys, what's up? It's Uncle Zunky and welcome to my flipping guide. So this is easily the most requested video I've ever had that I have not done yet. I've been putting it off for a long time because with flipping, there's really a couple factors that do not make it an easy thing to teach. For one, so much of it requires on your own knowledge and experience with flipping. It's really hard to make good money flipping if you have absolutely no idea what you're doing and you're not willing to be creative and think about certain things that would be good to flip. So before we actually get into flipping, I will just say that flipping is one of the best ways to make money in all of RS, and the reason why is because you can spend just a couple minutes at the GE and then go off and do something else or train a skill at the GE or whatever you want to do. One of my favorite ways to flip is I'll put in my offers and then I'll just fire make or cook, and I'll just cook right at the GE, and then once my offer sells or buys, I'll just check it and put in the offer for the sell or put in another offer to buy things, and it's really good money over time if you do this for long periods of time. Yes, you don't usually make large amounts per flip unless you have a lot of money to invest in the flip or unless you find something really good, which I'll talk about later, but over time it really can add up because you're doing other things while the flips are going on, so you're not really spending time to make that money. One thing that I really like to do as well with flipping is I'll put in some flip offers, I'll go do a Slayer task, after the task I'll come back to the GE and switch my offers. This can be a little bit risky because if something buys really fast, it means it's crashing and then it can crash while I'm at my task and then I have to cut a loss, but still this can be a really good way to make money over time. So in this video I'm just going to show you guys the very basics of flipping. I'm not going to go over any items that you should pick because for one, by far the best way to make money from flipping is to find your own items, but there are also some flipping friends chats that you can use and I'll show you guys one of them to get you started. But first of all, let's go into the basics of flipping and just the very easy mechanics of it and how it works. So flipping, at least the basics of it, is buying an item for cheap and selling it for a higher value to turn a profit. Now there is a really easy way for most items to find out what the buy and sell prices should be. For the most expensive items you will be using friends chats, or if you're really good at it and just keep track of prices, you can use your own knowledge. But basically how you want to flip an item, say for example if I wanted to flip magic logs, you would buy one magic log in the GE, put it a few percents over so it instantly buys, and then you want to either write down or remember the price that it bought for. This is a pretty easy number to remember, 1100 GP, and then you'd take the same item and you'd sell it back to the GE, and then you'd keep track of what price it sold for. So it sold for 1081 GP. So if this margin between the two prices is large enough and you decide that this is an item what you want to flip, what you would do is go back to the item you search in the GE and you'd set it in to buy for the price that you sold it for, 1081 GP. And one thing that you can do to make it buy or sell or a little bit faster is raise or lower the price. So I go a couple GP over what it's selling for and then I put in how many I want to buy. Obviously if you're just starting out flipping and you don't have a large cash stack, you won't be able to buy a whole lot or sell a whole lot, which means you'll make a lot less money, and that's one reason why flipping is a lot easier if you have a large cash stack to work with. But if I was to flip these magic logs, 20 GP isn't a very large margin, but if I decided that I wanted to flip these, I would put them in for 1082 or 1083 GP each, and they would slowly buy over time. The higher the price you raise it for, typically the faster the magic logs will buy, but the less money you'll make because you're putting in more money and getting less in return. In my opinion, the easiest type of items to start out with are raw materials. So I have an offer in here for mahogany planks, which I'm buying for 2161 GP each, and as soon as this offer buys, I will sell them for 2200 flat. So that means I'll make 39 GP per mahogany plank, and I'm buying a total of 10,000, so that means I'm making a total of 390k off of this flip. That's not an amazing flip, but one thing, if you buy commonly traded materials such as mahogany planks or such as gold, or some more that you can buy just off the top of my head are coal or nature runes or raw sharks, any raw material that people buy or sell all the time and are very commonly used, you will be able to buy them quite fast for the most part and sell them quite fast. You won't make a whole lot off of these flips usually unless you get really lucky or unless there's a bonus XP weekend coming out soon or something like that and the prices are all wacky, but for the most part you won't make a huge amount off these flips, but you can do them very fast. So these are good if you don't have a large amount of cash because typically raw materials are quite cheap. So if you're just starting out flipping, you have a couple mil, you might want to start off with an item like gold ore or coal or something like that, and you can do a lot of these flips per hour since they buy and sell so fast. The more expensive ones such as Armadyl battle staffs or rage fire boots that I'm doing down here, these will take more time and they also take a lot more money money that I have to put into this one. I had to put in 49 million into this one just to do the full amount of flipping. Another thing to keep track of is buy limits. There are some set guidelines for buy limits. Most raw materials such as gold ore, raw sharks, runes are just going to have a 25,000 buy limit every 4 hours. So I can flip 25,000 of these every 4 hours, or 2,409.99, because I had to buy one gold ore for testing purposes. Most processed materials, so that's materials that have been turned into something like mahogany planks or cooked sharks, for example, the buy limit is going to be 10,000 on those, so 10,000 every 4 hours. For most armor and weapons, the buy limit is 10, so that's 9 after you buy and sell your test item. However, some of the higher tiered weapons and armor such as Nex items or God Wars armor only has a buy limit of 1, so you would be using a flipping friends chat to find out what the prices are on those, but those are the friends chat. Sometimes you have to be kind of cautious when you're using them. One thing you can do if you're just getting started in flipping and you don't want to flip raw materials, which I would not suggest using a friends chat, but if you really want to do this, one thing that you can do is join a flipping friends chat. One of the most basic ones I know of personally is Flip Chat 1. They also have a forum page which kind of tells you exactly what you should be doing in the friends chat, but they'll tell you prices of items such as like Bando's pieces and Bando's helm, Bando's chest plate, and Bando's tassets, for example, is the line going on right now, and they tell you the buy and sell prices of those items. So you just put in an offer to buy one of those for the buy price, and then once it buys, you sell it for the sell price. In most cases, you'll make a lot more money doing your own flips though, instead of doing this. But if you want a items that are really safe and quite easy to do and people just tell you what the prices are, you might want to join a friends chat like this. There are many friends chats like this. There's one that specializes in different kinds of items, like there's one that specializes in neck sets, and there's one that specializes in level 90 weapons. There are several of them, but you're going to have to research to find out exactly how those are, because I personally never use flipping friends chats for flipping, because I find them, well, they can be kind of dangerous to use sometimes, because sometimes the prices can be incorrect, so I find it's a lot safer and a lot more profitable to just flip on my own. So the biggest tip that I can give you guys personally with flipping is, for one, you're going to need a lot of cash, and that can be gained slowly over time doing smaller flips. Like as you're training fire making, for example, you can flip some raw material items such as mahogany planks, slowly build up that cash stack. Once you get up to a larger cash stack though, the best way to make money flipping is using two things, which is first of all patience, and second of all imagination. If you can't think of your own items to flip, you're going to have a really hard time making money. One thing that I like to do is just buy items that are around between 10 to 30 mil, since I have quite a large amount of cash to work with most of the time, or items that are maybe around 1 to 2 mil but have a higher buy price, such as Amulets of Fury, for example. You can buy 100 of them every 4 hours. Items such as that, you want to research what items would be good for you around that price range. You want to find ones that have more of a 10 buy limit. For example, God Swords have a 10 buy limit, whereas Nex armor you can only buy 1 every 4 hours. So Nex armor doesn't really work unless the Nex armor is stable, and then you can try to buy it for a couple 100k under the GE price and sell it for a couple 100k over the GE price. This only works when Nex armor is stable and not crashing or rising, but you can use the Grand Exchange page on the Runescape website to find out how items are doing exactly. So for example, if I was to flip Steadfast boots, I would just buy 1 pair of them. This is an item that I found to be really good, since for the most part Steadfast boots are extremely stable and you can buy 10 of them. They're also a fairly high price, around 16 mil at the moment, so you can usually make a few, up to 100 or 200k per Steadfast boot, so that adds up to a pretty nice profit when you're done flipping them. So after I buy and sell the boot, I go into my Grand Exchange history, and this one bought for 15,950k and it sold for 15.7 mil. So in total, I would make almost 250k per boot. You have to factor out the money I lost flipping the first one, or just checking the price on the first one, but I will flip 1 to make up for that price, and then I'll flip 8 more after that, which will just be pure profit. So one thing I really like to use is I like to use my notepad to keep track of the prices. So I can usually just remember the buy price in my heads, but one thing I will do is just put in steads here, and we'll put in 15,948k, and that's the price that I'll sell them for. I usually sell them for a couple K under the price I checked, because that makes them sell a little bit easier. So I put in the offer for the steadfast boots, and in my experience, usually offers like this where you're buying more higher priced items, they can take about an hour to flip, but for this particular flip I will make about 2 mil doing it, but of course I'm investing about 141 mil into this flip, so this is not something you're going to be able to do without a large amount of cash, but this is more what you're working towards. Again, these mahogany planks will sell over time, and that's a nice little 300k flip, and it takes hardly any effort at all. Also, this gold ore isn't doing so well at the moment. I've had it in for about 10 minutes and I've only bought 6k out of the 25k. Also, I would only make 100k total profit from flipping all of this gold ore, so this is a time where I might consider canceling this offer. For some of the offers that are more low profit offers, I won't have as much patience for them, so if they take a long time to buy, I'll eventually just cancel out the offer. I'll sell what I got, and this would sell for 359 GP each, so I'll still make a nice little 25 to 30k profit off of this gold ore. But as soon as this stuff sells, I'll move on to something that might flip a bit faster. For example, nature runes is usually your best bet if you want an item that just flips really fast, or coal ore or iron ore or raw sharks, stuff like that. So the one point I cannot stress enough with flipping is you just have to be patient and let things develop slowly over time. Sometimes it's going to take a long time to buy your flips. You just got to leave it in there. Unless you're buying a higher value item that's crashing really hard, or unless you're flipping at a weird time where items are doing some messed up prices, like around a bonus XP weekend or some sort of event that's going to be using skilling supplies, items for the most part are going to be pretty stable. I would recommend to stay away from armor and weapons until you get kind of experience, because they tend to crash and rise quite a bit, but for the most part most of the other items in the game are not going to crash or rise too much, so just leave the offer in and wait for it to sell or wait for it to buy. If you panic and you cancel your offer after it's been in there for 5 minutes, you're never going to get anywhere with flipping. The second thing I can say is just find your own items. Over time you will eventually find a few items that work really well for you. None of the items that I suggested in this video are the best items to flip. There are some items out there right now that are working really well, but those won't necessarily be the best items to flip in a month or two. Items are constantly changing prices, and with new updates, different items come into the game and become really good. One of the best ways to make money in this entire game is taking advantage of updates. For example, when the Ascension dungeon came out, I flipped Ascension keys on its release and made about 150 mil in a day. Stuff like that. For example, you take advantage of new updates that come out, you flip the new items, or when a new update comes out and affects items that are currently in the game, you flip those, you merchant those, you invest in items that you think are going to rise, and that's one of the best ways to make money in this entire game. So with practice you will get better at it, and it helps to have a large cash stack and a large amount of patience, but with those things and with some practice you can become a master flipper and make billions from it. Anyway, that's about all for my tips. Hopefully if you didn't know how to flip, you now have a general idea of how it works. Again, this is a hard thing to make a guide of because it requires so much input from yourself to teach yourself how to flip and just getting experience with it. It's not really something that I can just say do this and you will make this much money, because it's so variable, but it can be an extremely rewarding way to make money once you get the hang of it. That's about all for this video, guys. Thanks for watching, and farewell.